What's up YouTube? Agent Zero here, and today I'm going to be doing a comparison video between Requiem 45 and Last Perdition, two legendary pulse rifles in Destiny 2. So the first thing to note is these two guns are different frame type guns. The Requiem 45 has a 540 round per minute archetype, while the Last Perdition is 390 round per minute. So the Last Perdition has greater stats in every category except for that fire rate. Now let's get into some of the hidden perks that we don't see, the hidden stats that we don't see when we're taking a look at those stats. The first one is the inventory size, which is the amount of extra ammunition a gun can hold in reserves. That number is bigger on the Last Perdition. And the aim assistance category, and that's the magnetic force that draws a gun to an enemy. That number is greater on the Requiem 45. Now, sometimes the aim assistance can actually hurt you. It has hurt me in the past, especially in the Crucible. You're getting into a gunfight with an enemy, you're shooting at that enemy, everything's going great, and then a teammate of that enemy passes in front of your target, and your gun starts to take off in that direction. So it can actually hinder you, but it can be good in those one-on-one gunfights. That's just something to note, that it can be a plus or a minus depending on the circumstance. Now that we've talked about the stats, one thing to note, I do have the 3 sights of both of these guns in this gameplay, and I put the sight that I'm using under the name of the gun so you know what sight is on the screen. You can use whatever sight that you like the best. Depending on the sight you pick, it will either have greater handling or greater range. Now, personally, I actually prefer the middle sight on both of these guns. For the Requiem 45, that middle sight is the SPO 26 front, and on the Last Perdition, the middle sight is the SPO 57 front. Funny thing to note is that the Requiem 45 also has the SPO 57 front. I just prefer that second sight for the Requiem a little bit better than the SPO 57. Now that we've talked about the sights, let's get into the second tier of perks. Both of these guns have 2 second tier perks. The Requiem 45 has accurized rounds and also steady rounds. Now, accurized rounds is going to increase your range. So if you're more of a ranged player, that may be better for you. It also has steady rounds, which increases your stability. Personally, I prefer the increased stability when I'm initially firing for the Crucible. Crucible purposes, I prefer steady rounds. Now, when I am in PvE, I'm running on the planets, or I'm in strikes, I'll use accurized rounds because I prefer that distance. So it depends on what I'm doing as to which one I use. Last Perdition has alloy magazine and flared magwell. Alloy magazine, you have faster reloads when the magazine is empty. Flared magwell does give you increased reload speed, but it also gives you increased stability as well. This could be depending on the game mode, just like the Requiem 45. Alloy magazine may be a little bit better for PvE. If you're firing at hordes of enemies, you're letting that gun get all the way down to the magazine being empty. Or you could prefer the increased stability. Personally, in any circumstance that I am having, I prefer flared magwell. I would prefer that increased stability and slightly increased reload speed, because most of the time I'm reloading before my magazine is empty. So alloy magazine doesn't really do much for me. But you could be a player that always lets your gun get empty in your clip when you're firing, and so alloy magazine may be a little bit better for you. Now let's get into the bread and butter perks. What really makes these guns great are their bread and butter perks. Both of these guns are very good guns. The Requiem 45 has Zen Moment. Zen Moment, as you're causing damage, the stability on the gun is increasing, which is very useful depending on the circumstance. Last Perdition, another very useful perk, Rampage. Kills with the weapon increase the damage with the weapon after you get those kills, and that stacks 3 times. So another very good perk depending on the circumstance. So now that we've talked about the overview of both of these guns, let's get into the subjective part of the review, where I give my opinion on which one of these guns I prefer and why. First, let's start with PvE. When I am in PvE, both of these guns are very good. They both kind of fit different roles. The Last Perdition with Rampage and also Alloy Magazine and Flared Magwell, very good for taking out hordes of enemies. Now, I don't like the slow fire rate on the Last Perdition. I actually prefer the Requiem 45's fire rate, but does that give the Requiem 45 an edge? The Requiem 45 is really good at damaging bosses. The heavier shielded enemies where Zen Moment can really kick in and can really help you hit your critical shot after critical shot. So both of these guns are very good and could be used in different circumstances depending on what you're going to be doing. You could choose one gun or the other. Now, if I had to choose one, personally, I prefer the faster fire rate combined with Zen Moment of Requiem 45. I think the gun has a very good feel to it. The stat-wise, it's a very good, well-rounded gun. The Last Perdition, I don't like the fire rate as much. It feels a little slow, especially when I'm getting into the heat of the moment and getting all of these hordes of enemies surrounding me. I prefer the Requiem 45 because I think it's better at doing damage to bosses, and I just like the feel of the gun a little bit better. But both of these guns are very good in PvE. Now let's get on to PvP. Both of these guns, again, very good guns, and sometimes they have different benefits. When you're in those one-on-one gun battles, as the gun battle is going on longer and longer periods of time, you're probably going to want Zen Moment. It is a great perk to have in one-on-one gun battles. That gun battle is tipping in your favor as it continues to go on because your gun is starting to fire like a laser, while the other person you're facing may not have that, and so you're getting the benefit of Zen Moment and increasing its stability. The Last Perdition, we know that a lot of people are team-shotting in the Crucible, so if you're able to kill that first enemy, you're going to be doing damage to that second enemy if the two enemies are close by each other. Now remember, Rampage has a 3.5 second activation, so after you get that kill, you have 3.5 seconds until you get another kill or you lose Rampage. So that's something to note. You have 3.5 seconds in between your first kill and that second kill or you lose Rampage. So overall, it could kind of depend on your playstyle, but I prefer the Requiem 45 in the Crucible. I think it is a very good gun, and Zen Moment really helps it out when we are in the Crucible. I love getting that gun battle tipped in my favor, and it really helps me hit my crits. So when I'm in that gun battle, I'm getting even more of an edge. I don't feel like Rampage can do as much when compared to the Requiem 45. So overall, I prefer the Requiem 45. I think it is a very good gun. However, both the Requiem 45 and Last Perdition are very good guns. It may depend on your play style. Like I said, the Last Perdition is a little bit better at taking out hordes of enemies, but overall, I definitely prefer the Requiem 45. So what do you think about these two guns? Leave a comment in the comment section and let me know. What other guns would you like to see compared? Let me know and I will get them done. I'll put the pedal to the metal and try to get those gun comparisons done for you guys. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, feel free to give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel for more Destiny 2 content. Well, until next time. Peace!